Hello, and welcome to episode 77 of Friends of the Show. I am Stephen W. Skinner, and this is my podcast where I chat with the online types. This week's friend is a very cool comedian, writer, online personality, Twitch streamer, at hog_mild. It was so much fun talking to Anica about whatever and then some. I must apologize to you, the loyal listener, have not maintained a consistent posting schedule, but I hope this episode tides you over. It was so much fun talking to Anica, and I just found out that she'll be moving to Canada, so perhaps an IRL meetup is on the cards for the future. But in the meantime, please enjoy Friends of the Show, episode 77 with Hog Mild.
Oh, I see what it is. Hold on. Nope, that's not it. Hi. Okay, I can hear you.
Oh, hello.
There's always, anytime I use like a new audio thing, whether it's like Skype or Zoom, my setting reverts to like my mic only because it doesn't seem to understand that a microphone doesn't also function as speakers, and my computer's truly doing its best and it's failing miserably. But anyway.
Well, you figured it out. Great troubleshooting in the moment. I was really sweating it because I was like, all my things look like they're connected right, and I'm getting good sound. So I'm glad that we sorted it out.
Yeah.
And welcome to the show. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Anica, right? Is that right? Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. I like the extra emphasis on it. Just Anica. It's good. It's very good.
Well,
Stephen, hello.
Thank
you. You have a very Canadian accent. It's fun.
Really? I have a Canadian accent. I do not get that very often, but I am definitely Canadian and I definitely have it. But so what's really popping off with my accent? Is it?
It is. I'm so glad you asked. So I am shortly going to be moving to, I think, the same city that you are in, which is very exciting.
Very exciting. Or near an adjacent city in the same province.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I probably won't be, in Toronto proper, but you have what we linguists like to call chubby vowels. It's like, that's not the official term for it, but it's like, where, I mean, it's sort of, if you've watched like the movie Fargo, and I'm just explaining your own accent to you now, which is probably a little pedantic, but like, it's where you get like, you sort of get those kind of round vowels where you're talking, like where it just gets a little bit round with your sort of like your deeper back vowels.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do hear it now in my own voice. And I don't think we're quite in Minnesota Fargo territory, but now I can hear that I'm on the spectrum of that.
Yeah, it's not quite the same, but it's just because like American, like super American English, Americans tend to talk like with the front of their mouths a lot. Like we don't tend to do like a lot of rounding, or like Americans would be really good ventriloquists because we all just speak with like our mouths really closed and really at the front of our mouths. So you tend to get like non-American English that has a little bit more like deepness to its vowels and like rounding around the vowels, just because I don't know, it's just a difference in accents.
Wow, it's really cool. Yeah, I was just thinking about how that would manifest, like, because they speak out of the front of their mouths. They're like, oh yeah, they really shape that air on the way out with the teeth and the tongue and the lips or whatever, and we're just like puffing it out from the back of the throat.
Yeah, you get that out, like you just said, which I think it's cool. I've been reading a lot about voice acting, and like how people do accents, and it's crazy. It's such an interesting thing to read about, especially because like a lot of us think we can do accents because there's like a sentence I can say with a Scottish accent, but the moment it's like, oh no, try to like say things other than your keywords, suddenly it gets way harder.
Yeah, I mean, I love doing accents, as people on the show know, and yeah, maybe they're not that good, and they probably my UK accent shifts between regions pretty good and dialects. It'll be some old London, some proper London, and then it'll be from wherever.
Just head up Welsh to Cockney to like Queen's English just sort
Just
of
somehow,
bouncing
yeah,
around.
South African a little. You're like, what?
Yeah.
How?
Anytime I try to do like an Australian accent, it just turns into like, yeah, like a little South African, and then just it. I don't know where it's
You
going,
need
man.
those.
It's a real Carmen San Diego. You're like, where are you? Like, what's going on?
You do need those keywords or those key phrases to really lock you in. I know that a lot of people who do accents have those things that like will sync them back into the character or to the voice or to start rounding those syllables or whatever.
Rounding the
Rounding the
vowels, yeah.
vowels on those accents. So what are your top 3 favorite accents? Australian?
To hear or to try to do.
Okay, 3 different lists. I mean, 2 different
Um,
lists.
yeah, my favorite one. So, oh wow. The thing is that I kind of love all accents because it's just like because I studied linguistics and because I like linguistics so much, like how accents manifest and how those kind of tie back to like the person's native language is always super interesting to me. But I think, oh boy, I love I love Russian accents. I think they're amazing. I really like um, Northern European, sort of Scandinavian accents. You get sort
Oh
of like
yeah.
that, like the Swedish chef lilt, where it's sort of like bouncing up and down, which is very, very endearing. And then, God, there's so many cool accents out there. I
There's
love a
a
little
whole
bit
world of accents.
the world of accents. And then I think there's a lot of like the Cambodian accent's really pretty. The Filipino accent, which is obviously a very broad range. Like there's a lot of cool stuff out there. So you can find something neat in every single accent, I think.
So which one can you do the best?
None. Can't do any of
You
them.
can't do them?
I can do. I'm not gonna do it, but I can sort of do like not a good German accent, but like a snidely whiplash, like German, not
Okay,
like
something very specific.
just kind of a generic German slash Eastern European villain accent. And then I stream on Twitch, and I've lately been streaming dating sims. And to make them interesting, I've been trying to do voices. So not a lot of accents for that, just trying to do a lot of different voices.
Yeah.
And I like to do, because my voice is already like pretty deep, I like to do like very deep, distinguished man voices. I think those are a lot of fun to do. I don't know. It's fun to try to learn how to do them, and it's not good, but it's
That
getting
is
better.
exactly. It's not good and it's hard and it's but it is fun to do. And then eventually, if you
Exactly.
do get your couple of sentences, you could impress people at a party. Then there you go. It's all
Right.
worth it.
Especially with like quarantine coming to an end, I'm looking back on like the things that I accomplished during it, and I'm like, I feel like I tried to take some time during quarantine to like do some cool stuff, but I don't want to like stop doing that now that quarantine's kind of coming to the end, at least around here. So I'm like, fuck it. I guess I'll just learn how to do voices.
Yeah, learn how to do voices. Keep that list going and keep knocking items off the list. What are some other items on your list that you tried to do or you started or you did during the oh yeah, elephant in the room, global pandemic at the time of this recording, over 1 year into the official global pandemic, and yeah, doing okay. We've both made it this far, so how you doing on your end there?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Have you been real quick, have you been vaccinated yet? I know Canada's been a little behind on that.
A little behind up in here, yeah. So not vaccinated at the time of this recording. My lovely wife is on the email box. She's sending out things, trying to get reservations at this point. Not currently open to our age bracket in our current area, but like there's other areas nearby that you can kind of go into. Maybe there's like this
Sure.
vaccine hunters site that tells you where to go and what to say to get your vaccine.
Wild.
Yeah, it's really
and
wild.
I've,
But
I've heard that like right now Canada's doing like prioritizing first shots for everyone. So some people that have gotten their first shot are now on like a 4-month waiting list for the second one.
Yep. Yeah, lots of like basically everybody I know, like my elderly family has had their first shot.
Got it.
But the next shot is whatever, fall. So
Oh, good Lord.
don't know about that. But yeah, happy to hear that you guys did a good vaccine rollout. We didn't. We picked the wrong supplier, bad websites. We have incompetent government in some of our provinces doing the rollout. So yeah, a little
Now,
bit.
Stephen, what is it like to have an incompetent government? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can relate to that. That sounds really
You know what
foreign
I'm
to me.
talking about. You're just coming out of it. You're still in the foggy haze. And hey, maybe heading back into the foggy haze. That the he who must not be named still has quite a lot of pull, apparently.
Totally, and I mean that's even with him out of office, like things are still terrible because it's not just, it wasn't just that presidency that made things bad. It's the entire system just has always been corrupt and terrible and awful.
System.
So that aside, back to the more lighthearted stuff. During quarantine, wow, what did I do? I wrote my first pilot, which was really cool.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Was it a half
and
hour? What is it? Is it a lighthearted comedy, a sitcom?
It is. It's a lighthearted comedy. It is, sitcom, half an hour. Takes place in a boxing gym because I used to. Before quarantine, I was in and out as a boxing coach, and I was a really avid boxer. I'd been training to box at an amateur level, and unfortunately, I got my medical clearance revoked, but huge fan of that. So I just wanted to set something in a world like that because there's a lot of funny stuff happening in a space like that I think a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, definitely. Like, when do you see like Rocky? Every 10 years we get a Rocky, or get the revival Rockies, the Creed.
Right, or you look at,
Every once
I don't
in a
know,
while, you get $1 million baby.
maybe it's just the demographic of Twitter that I follow, but you see so many of these MMA people and they're just garbage people, and I'm this is a world that has some really cool people in it, but a lot of misconceptions and or accurate conceptions of icky people in it. So I'm maybe I could make something that's not like that. But I wrote a pilot, started writing headlines for the Onion Gamers Network, which is like the Onion, but just
nice.
for video games.
Yeah.
And then I'm working at IGN now, writing video game walkthroughs. So I've been pretty busy.
That's
been
great.
doing a lot of new stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, video games is cool. It's the wave of the future. It's what we all wanted to work in video games at 12 years old, but we just didn't know that at the time because it wasn't really a thing. You couldn't just play video games as a job.
You couldn't. And that's why, I don't know, Twitch is so interesting to me. I'd been working in esports at Twitch recently, and I left that to take a job to write for Amazon Prime Video. And I don't know, esports was really a really interesting thing to observe. And
yeah, that's what I want to see the pilot of.
You don't.
I want to know about these gamer fueled guys or whatever, and the fans, people who I remember watching my friend play video game, you remember sitting on a couch and you'd have to wait for your turn to play or whatever, but now it's you don't even get a turn, you just you just have to watch the whole time. That's
so interesting. Yeah. And I mean, I don't tend to watch esports. I tend to watch speedrunners because to me that's just super interesting, is this whole thing where it's someone created a game to be oh, here's a cool storyline, or let's explore it. And speedrunners are no, fuck that. I'm going to get this done as quickly as possible. And I just think that's such a cool, I don't know. I think that's super interesting. And apparently now, the game viewing demographic is now Googling the word speedrunner or speedrunning more than they're Googling the word esports. So I'm curious to see how that changes. But
could be a shift.
I'll say that I enjoyed working in esports and I met a lot of cool people, but whatever dear listener, if you're like, I have this conception of esports, whatever your conception is right. It's very bro dominated, which can kind of get a little tiring, but
Yeah. Those big rooms will get stinky. It's
yeah.
filled with a bunch of
Oh,
dudes in hoodies just sweating in their big chairs.
oh man, it's not even gamers. It's like esports production is dominated by tech bros. Like it's that new wave of gamer where it's like the streetwear gamer who's like super buff and like super into Call of Duty, and that's not a bad thing. Like that's not a bad way to be, but it sure is a thing.
Yeah, big wave of things. It's like people are now making fun of those 2006 guys wearing Hollister shirts who had the popped collars and that change. But that's just going to be certain other demographics in 10 years. Like everyone looks stupid 10 years ago.
God, Hollister. Do you remember? Maybe you didn't have this experience, but like Hollister in a mall, they used to hire people to just like stand outside of it who are just like hot, and they were just like human models
Right.
standing. It was so
They had
weird.
the thing was because we're up in Canada, right? So
Yeah.
Hollister became a thing in the States before it like made it up to Canada. So it was already had its stuff like figured out. So we didn't
Uh-huh.
have we didn't have like the hot people hanging out front. Like that wasn't necessary. Just having the Hollister already by that point was like drawing the people in.
Just
But it was
enough.
like the air was thick and it was
Mm-hmm.
thick and dark in there and the music
It was
was
so
loud.
dark.
And yeah, everyone who worked there, they were a head turner. They were like, I don't even know
Oh,
how you would get, like, how did you get that many hot people to work at this one place?
and I mean, they weren't hiring them for their customer service skills because it certainly was not.
No, it was them like standing together in this at the sides of the store, not doing anything, while all the regular folk gawked and walked through this weird jungle maze.
I will say any teenager who went into Hollister willingly is braver than any troops in the world. Like going into a Hollister as a teen, and maybe it's because I was like a pretty hefty teenager and everyone that worked there was like not that, it was very much like going through this gauntlet of like fear and self-loathing. It was a terrible, being a teenager is just, if you can skip it, skip it. Just go from like 10 to like 24. Everything in between is just, you don't need it. Like no one needs that experience at all.
You definitely don't need to go into a Hollister. I can vividly remember. I think it's like a scent memory because of the strong scents that they had or whatever. It's like in my brain. I don't often remember times when I went into a store, but Hollister, it was like I went in, did one big like lap, checked it all out, and then was like never again.
Oh, and you could chew the air. You could just like, you're like, oh, I could taste it. They just,
I wasn't
I don't
sure
know
if it was like a fog machine or if it was just like sweat from all the people that were like in there, like packed tightly because it was new and very busy at the time. Not sure why the air was so thick and humid,
oh my God, it was
and they
so.
funneled people through the tight entrances. It was like a different world. Like you're in the mall, and then all of a sudden, no, you're where? Where are you?
I miss malls. Like I'm gonna go become. I used to work at a place in a mall, and I'd get there early, and there were always these like, these octogenarians, just like old as dust, shuffling around, doing their little like mall walks.
Mall walks, great way
And
to keep
yeah,
healthy.
they're so like, in my like early 20s, I was like, why would you walk in a mall? And now I'm like, once quarantine's done, all I'm gonna do is just walk in a mall. Like they're gonna have to like forcefully eject me from the premises because like I just want to walk through a mall. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, the main thing would be the climate control, the nice even walking surfaces, the nice, I guess, people watching. A lot of great reasons. But yeah, malls are canceled due to global pandemic. And every time they try to reopen malls, I'm like, don't.
Don't
Wait.
reopen
Just
it.
wait.
Yeah,
We don't need
I
them.
just want a mall care
Literally.
package where you send me like an Auntie Annie's soft pretzel and like a Cinnabon. Do you have those? Have you had those before?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. That's all I want is just mall. Give me like food court food. That's all
Food
I really
court
need.
food. Is that what your go-to would be? Cinnabon? You go to the sweets first? You don't go
I
to
think so. Yeah.
don't go
I think that's
to
probably because all the other ones I feel like I can get in like an airport. Like I'll get a Panda Express if I'm feeling particularly self-destructive,
right.
but I don't know. I'll go for a cinnamon roll. I think they're great.
Food courts for the sweets.
Yeah, what would you go for?
That's tough. I always balk at the food court because maybe it's like too many options and my brain just can't figure it out. I wish I had a default one because that would just make it easy. But then I'm always like, but what if I try something else? And it's like every time I try something new or whatever, it's bad. I mess up the order. I order like the worst thing. It's like expensive or it's bad or like the people making it just that day really mess up.
Oh
It's
God,
like I had so
yeah.
many bad like mall food court experiences that I really just avoid mall food courts at all costs. I really
I
try
also
to.
get like I get performance anxiety whenever I have to order fast food because I don't do it very often. So, and I feel like I'll see people in fast food be like, "Oh yeah, could I get a number 6 small fry Diet Coke?" Blah. And I'm just
Pros.
there like, "What do you recommend? What can you tell me the special of the day at this Arby's, good sir?" And I just like I don't know how to do it, so I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
You definitely need a plan, although in today's modern society, it's becoming easier and easier. You don't even really have to deal with people. You can do it through an app. Usually you can do it through a robot screen at McDonald's. They've recently rolled those out. They're really working towards eliminating any of the go-betweens where it's like, yeah, you messed up. You actually punched in this order, and we have
Just
the
a nice
receipt from your
second
phone.
Yeah, just a nice second industrial revolution to get rid of even more jobs. It is really crazy to see how many fast food places are like, yeah, we're closed because no one will work here. It's like,
Yeah.
well,
Well, why do
yeah.
they need to work there? Can't we like we should have full fast food restaurants that are just robots. Like it can put the burger on the grill, it can put the mayo. Like I don't see why a robot can't do everything that everyone in the restaurant does. And it's drive-through only, and you just pick it up, you order through an app, like whatever, get it done, and make a universal wage. Right?
Universal
Universal living
wage for
wage.
robots.
And then
Exactly.
we have robot restaurant income.
I'm down. No notes for that at all.
Yeah, so that's what we'll eventually get to. But in the meantime, we're here. So how did we get here? Who are you? Where are you from? Who are your guys? This is the Mark Maron WTF intro part.
Oh man, I feel like we covered so much of that. So
I know.
far.
Normally, I don't let that opening part ramble so long. Or go on so many weird tangents, but felt like we got into it. But now we'll circle back. Who are you?
I
Where are
always
you
feel
from?
like I hit the ground running in podcasts because I'm like, hey, I haven't talked to anyone in weeks. Wow. So what do you do for
Yeah.
joy? What is your
At this
Tell me
moment in
about what
time,
you were
like
Yeah.
talking to people on the podcast is the most I've talked to people in the last year.
Oh man, about me. Let's see. My name is Anica, as we covered. I am hog_mild on Twitter or Anica on Twitch. What do I
Ooh,
have?
Anica on Twitch. Oof, God, nailed it. That's like Jack on Twitter.
I know. Well, to be fair, I had a different username, and then when I was working
I
at
was gonna
Twitch, I was like,
say,
"Can I get
muscle
that
someone.
one?" And they were like, "Yeah, why not?" So,
Awesome. Yeah, you got to
absolutely
be a
fine.
power player to pull off some handle like that, right? Like in the old days, you had to squat. You had to get there first mover advantage, start squatting on the Anica handle or whatever. But you know what? They can just like kick you off and put someone else
I
on.
know. I always think about those people that like got into the like URL game
Yeah.
early on and
Uh-huh.
got like the really really good people that just like figured out that the internet was going to be big early on and they
Yeah.
just got like porn.com and it's
Just
like you're
all of
brilliant.
this big words, what you think people are gonna need.com. Just buy it. It's like $100.
It's so smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I have kind of going on. like I said, my day job is I'm a writer. I am just started writing for the YouTube video that Amazon Prime Video owns. So it's all the like Prime originals, stuff like The Boys or Them, or I need to brush up on other Prime Amazon
I was
Prime
gonna say,
originals
the most
because
generally named things. The things that
thing,
tell you
you know,
nothing at all about what it is in the title.
The Boys, The Dudes, Cats.
Check
That is
out
already a
Guys.
thing. Tragically, we do not own that one.
Well, that's
What
very
else
cool. So
did I
you're a
do?
writer. So how did it all start? When did you start writing? Did you take? We all know you took all those very cool things in school. So you are learned. And is that when you started writing after, or like when?
I didn't start writing until I'd been doing stand up for a few years. So yeah, I got my degree in linguistics, and I think you would find this interesting, Stephen, because so many of your tweets are just like solid gold wordplay and puns. And where I went to undergraduate, you actually had to create a dissertation, which is not normally something you do in undergraduate. And I wrote my dissertation on puns and
Oh
on the
wow!
theories of humor and whether or not they apply to puns. And I did find that every linguistic theory of humor does not apply to puns, meaning that from a purely linguistic standpoint, there's nothing explaining why puns are funny.
It's an outlier. Or
So
maybe that's why they're not funny. They're inherently not funny, and it makes you angry, or it's like it's a different emotion than humor when you see it. That's why they can't explain it. That's why I always thought, I was just like, it's not like like half the time people are mad about it when it's
it's clever, yeah. And I think
yeah,
we
clever.
need to. I think humans just haven't figured out the emotion that we want towards
Towards
cleverness, because like
yeah, expressing that you realize something was clever. Like it took your brain a second, then when your brain got it, your brain was like clever. Like
okay, yeah, your
it
brain's
wasn't
just
like a
like, all right.
laugh. It's like your brain
Yeah,
wants to golf clap for the cleverness.
exactly. So, and I think we just haven't yet evolved to have a feeling for when you go, I appreciate that you just said something clever, but I don't think it's funny.
Exactly, yeah.
But I started stand up in like 2004. Just and when I started stand up, I was like, I don't necessarily want this to be my like be all end all. I think I would rather be writing, but like it's surprisingly hard to get into writing without making. I mean, it's not surprisingly hard to get into writing without contacts, but it seemed like the quickest way to make contacts was to do stand up, because that's like very much you're interfacing with people like directly. So I did stand up for a few years, and then
What city were you doing it in?
yeah, I started out in Seattle, and that is a very great scene. It's a scene that I'm really happy I started in.
Go
And then,
Kraken.
pardon?
Go Kraken.
Yeah. Oh God, I forgot about that. That's good. I mean, better names, but
Local ref.
I think Kraken came around after I left, unfortunately.
Would have been a lot of good jokes you could have made, maybe.
Cracking a lot of jokes here. Um, and then I moved to San Francisco about 4 years ago. So this is a really good scene to move into. I like the San Francisco scene because everyone kind of treats stand up like a job. Not saying that they're
Yeah.
not passionate about it, but like it's just very much everyone's very transparent about like, yeah, I want this set to be my Conan set.
Yeah.
This is my late night set.
It's a real
And
busy industry.
yeah, very busy and very like we were all just like co-workers who were working together, and I liked that a lot.
Yeah,
So
the networking or whatever. Like once you reach a certain level where you're sort of passed around at certain spots, different people give you their approval, quote unquote. You get into that orbit of the scene, and then different shows or whatever are more popular. So you can develop stronger contacts if you hit that
yeah.
next level, and sort of like it's ever upscaling orbit where it's smaller and smaller like the higher levels you go. But I guess
And
the
yeah.
SF Sketchfest is like the big thing. It goes like for a month now out
Hmm.
there, right? So like basically it's like 11 months of or 10 months of getting ready for Sketchfest and then a month to recover or something.
Oh yeah,
It's like
the
everything
Sketchfest
revolves around
parties
that,
were
right? Like
always.
just building to that, and then that's the big thing, and then get ready for next year.
Although I guess Just for Laughs is probably is much bigger than that, honestly. Although it's a little bit different.
So
Different
there's
stand-up.
a San Francisco Just for Laughs.
No, there's the Canadian
Montreal.
one.
Montreal.
Is it in Toronto? God,
Oh,
where is it?
it's in Montreal.
Montreal. There we go.
But there is an offshoot now. There's two offshoot festivals. There is a Toronto one, and there is one in Vancouver also. They're called JFL 42, where they
There we
take
go.
42 acts or whatever and run them around the city. And it's sort of similar, but it's not like, they're trying to expand their brand or whatever. But it's Montreal is the one.
Yeah,
Like Montreal
I knew
is
there
the
was
one.
in Toronto, but I was like, that might be an offshoot.
It's an offshoot, yeah. So it's not quite the main stage or whatever, right? Like only Montreal is the JFL. So
The JFL.
the JFL, that's Victor. You aren't getting Victor at JFL 42.
Yeah, so I originally got started writing like for money, like real money, was when I got hired by Zynga to write trivia for a Words with Friends trivia show. So it was all like word-based trivia, and that was so much fun. Writing trivia is a blast. Like it's so, I don't know. It's super fun to kind of have to come up with questions that you think will be like easier versus harder for people, and having to like write questions that can't be Googled, where
Yeah.
it's like you have to come up with like
Very
questions that
specific.
require, pardon?
Yeah, something very specific where you wouldn't be able to generally Google. Because Google has that thing where you can kind of like ask it and it'll give you the summary. They'll give you the short answer right up top.
Yeah, and a lot of the questions that you have to write for stuff like that requires like knowledge synthesis, where it's like this person's middle name is the same as which person's from what things, where
Right,
you
you
have
got to
be
get
like,
your
okay,
brain working on double tracks.
exactly, yeah.
That's
that
it.
was-
So
that was
interesting how
super
you could
fun.
be like, because I was like, did you just think of like a bunch of questions and then like rate them on how hard they are? Or you're like, all right, time to think of the easy questions.
Yeah.
What color is a train? Wait,
Oh my God,
that's
you
hard.
had to start out like you had to start with questions like that because you didn't want to like ramp in difficulty too hard. So like the first questions were literally like, what's the name of the planet we live on? Which could actually almost be the harder questions to write, because you're like, how do I write questions that 100% of people are going to get
Yeah.
without being like patronizing, or I don't know. Those were tricky, but I ultimately got to move into being the head question editor, which putting them in
way
the
better.
right order
Yeah.
was a lot easier than coming up with the
Sure.
questions.
That's level above the super grunt work.
Yeah,
The staring at a blank page.
exactly. And I'm really great at bar trivia now, except for most sports or history stuff. Those are just two things that like my brain tries so hard, but it just leaks it right out. I'm like, I don't know. I
Sports
know
or
nothing
history,
about that.
that's tough. Yeah, I mean, like general sports I'll get, but if it's some sort of stat, it's pretty tough. I have a wide breadth of trivia knowledge. I love trivia. Used to play this like NTN bar trivia. I don't know if you've ever seen that at a bar. It's like a bunch of multiple choice questions that just come up on the screen, and you can get they give you a little controller. It's like a little keyboard that you can carry around, and you put your little name in, and you play against other people in the bar, and it shows like a score leaderboard and stuff. And it has like regulars. You can come back and like have your account and stuff.
Oh, I like that.
So my dad was like a regular at a bar, so I would be there. And I was just like playing trivia. And yeah, I loved it. Loved trivia. Loved playing NTN. So still to this day, love a good trivia. So it's really cool to think about how people are coming up with the questions. So what app was that? Zynga? I don't know if I know that one.
You know Zynga. They made Farmville.
I know Farmville. Definitely rejected a lot of uncle and aunt invites
I know.
on Facebook back in the day for Farmville.
Oh God, I know. And it's still going strong. I learned they have I learned that there are like most app games are like, oh God, like 90% of the people that are playing them give them like no income, and the last 10% are spending like $20,000 a year on this game, where it's just
Wow.
obviously like
Yeah.
the rich
Someone super
bored
rich.
spouse of like a CEO or something.
Yeah.
And they have like, so the business model for app gaming is really, really skewed compared to like regular gaming. And it's just interesting where it's like they recognize that the majority of their users aren't really going to be a source of income, but like there's this small minority that they're just banking on spending a shit ton of money. And if you're in that minority, they have like special VIP care that they do for them,
Oh
and they have like a
yeah.
account manager for them. It's
Like,
so
call
interesting.
the call the Tetris guy and get a line.
I
Like,
know, it's
uh,
crazy. Yeah. Um, like I know that there are people that there's like dedicated account managers at whoever makes Candy Crush that like looks
yeah.
after the people that spend like thousands of
Yeah.
dollars
They're like, all
on
right, Miss
Candy.
Peterson's on. She's online right now, guys. All right, hold on. I gotta cancel my meetings. I need to see
It's
if
amazing. It's so weird.
we
But
need to get her to hit the high score today.
yeah, right. They're just like helping them cheat or whatever. Like we got to keep her with us. Do
There's a guy
whatever you
who's
have.
like phantom playing, but he makes it look real.
Unless you're getting too good at it, in which case it's sort of like card counting in Vegas, where they just like take you to the back room and break your kneecaps. It's like you can be good at our game, but not too good at our game. So I worked on Words with Friends, which is like Scrabble.
Oof,
It's like
that's a big
app,
one.
yeah. And I was like briefly a host for it. So it was similar to that app game HQ, if you've heard of it, where it's like a live streamed trivia game just for.
You know what? I have heard of it, and it is a matter of fact, breaking news right now on this podcast. Original host of HQ Trivia, Scott Rogowski, is
Yeah.
going to be a guest next week. He's going to be the guest on Friends of the Show.
Holy shit, really?
What a fun coincidence.
I cannot believe you would have us rivals on this show back to back.
Back to back. Look out, folks.
Scott seemed really cool, and I know he moved away from HQ, and I'm sure he's doing like such bigger and better things.
He's a mover and a shaker.
Yeah,
And he has tons of like side hustles he's doing. Where he's like selling his shirts on his Instagram, like vintage tees. He's got so many cool clothing that you can go buy. Go check out his stuff. But I'll promote all that on his episode.
I don't mind. Go for it. So it was a knockoff of that.
Got
I briefly hosted it. Fucking shout out to Scott for doing that, because
Insane.
I did not like it.
No, insane. So how long were your little episodes? Was it the same kind of deal, like live?
Totally. Same
Yeah.
same length. It was just a honest to God
Just
word
straight
for word
rip-off.
knockoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when it came out, it seemed like HQ was going to take over the world. This is just what everyone was going to be doing all like 3 times a day, every day from now on. Like during the period of it was like millions of people
So
at the
many.
same time streaming, like crashing the app every time, and they would grow. It would like be like, sorry, we crashed. We're going to try and do it again in half an hour or whatever.
Exactly. And that's part of the problem with that model is like right now any sort of live streaming is still it can still be so buggy that like the moment money factors into it, you're now raising your stakes so much higher because people having their app crash. I mean, I see live streams on Twitch crash where no one has money involved and they're like, God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And then to have it be a thing where you
For
could
money.
be winning money
Yeah.
and suddenly your app crashes, like it's really high stakes. So I am not shocked that it sort of waned in popularity for now.
Yeah, definitely. But pretty cool at the time. And I'm sure some iteration of that will be back. Like at the time, it was like everyone was blue skying it. Like, oh, yeah, we'll just watch like 15-minute shows on our phone or whatever, like all the time. Like, not yet.
Not quite yet. There's a huge market for that in Asia, and specifically China has this like insanely huge mobile gaming market. And right now, mobile gaming, I think in the US is still sort of considered like quote unquote not real gaming. But I'm like, there's a lot of money to be made in mobile gaming. So I'm curious
Yeah.
to see what happens with that in the future.
Like, are you on your phone right now? You like fun
I
video games? Yeah,
Oh my
it's
God.
coming.
Someone on Twitter recommended like a mobile gaming game to me where you just have to like sort water, different colored
Oh
like
yeah, I saw
beakers
that.
full of. Yes, it's literally called like water flow game. And it is very nice. It's a good like if you just want to like watch TV but not really watch TV, it's a really good thing to have. Like it's a good TV app, you know?
Yeah. All these kind of like little puzzle games, like they're so simple and yet so effective that they're little ads or whatever. When you just see someone playing, you're like, I want to solve the puzzle.
Exactly. You're like, but you're doing a puzzle. I can do a
I could
puzzle.
do it.
Crazy.
Like I could do that one. I know the
Right?
water is different colors, but I would know which color to pour. However it gets you, like those apps are nuts. I guess I need to start thinking of what app to develop for the mobile gaming industry.
Oh God, it's so funny. My favorite thing is looking at like the off-brand apps that you find on mobile gaming where instead of being like Grand Theft Auto, it's like big steel car and it's
Yeah.
like a terrible knockoff of like some mainstream video game with the name just like slightly changed. That's a world that I think is just beautiful.
I mean, it's been around forever. We've all got like bootleg video games. I remember I had Dad got me this like 10,000 in one NES game for original NES. And it was all of these like games that were like ripped onto this one cartridge and you could go and select it. But it was really like, I don't know, maybe like 50 or 60 to 100 different like simple games and then a different skin on all
Exactly
of
right.
them. So it was like one of them was like Duck Hunt and then the other one was like uh, alligator shoot and it was like an alligator instead of a duck and you would shoot it with a different color laser or something. And it was like that for the whole every single game. Just like 50 or 60 different versions of every single game.
And I love that. You know what? Like capitalize where you can. I think that's amazing.
I was pretty happy with those 50 or 60 games or whatever. There was a strip rock, paper, scissors. I don't know if I've talked about this on the
Oh,
podcast.
good Lord.
And it was
Tell me about
like
that.
you choose your rock, paper, or scissors in your little hand. And then there's like a robot hand that is scrolling through rock, paper, and scissors. So if you click it and you beat the computer, a piece of the Sailor Moon looking anime girl's costume goes away. And so we got down to the end. And at the end, it's just going like, it's just completely like luck. And we
Oh my
got
God.
it. And there was no nipples.
Really? It was just like
It was
Barbie boob?
Barbie boobs.
No! The betrayal.
Huge betrayal for 12 or 13-year-old me.
The market for like horny games, and this is definitely I won't go too
Oh,
into
yeah.
detail with this aside, but like and this is publicly anyone can see which games are banned from being streamed on Twitch. And there are some awful games out there.
So is
But there
there
are
like
some with,
an X-rated
sorry.
Twitch? Was there like an Twitch or something? Like R-rated Twitch or Twitch with Twix with
Twix with three
three
X's.
X's?
You know, probably.
I mean, if there's not,
But
you just proved that there's a market for it.
I mean, some of those games no one should watch or play. They're awful. But there were a few, like, one was BMX, but, like, the X's at the end were, like, XXX, which I think,
Ooh.
as far as I could tell, is just women BMX biking naked, which I was always like, that's not even hot. Like,
Right, yeah.
that's uncomfortable. That one didn't super make sense to me. And then one that I legitimately was bummed that is banned from Twitch is called Porn Tycoon. And it's just like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you like run a porn studio
Yeah.
and you have to like
Yeah.
upgrade and get new sets and like hire new actors and
Yeah, you gotta have your
pay this
stable of actors.
and it's just like that one I just am like, and it's not even on Steam. It's not even like I don't think it's ever like actually explicit at any point.
Like The
It's
Sims or
literally just
something.
like how to run a business.
Wow. That's
So I
pretty
kind of want to
wild.
play that just because I'm like, that actually sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
So
It's just like regular, like a Sims type game.
exactly. I'm like, I think Sims could probably be, more salacious than this one is.
I think they do stick a lot of salaciousness into The Sims and sneaky stuff like that under, and it gets by a lot of censors, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. Well, we're already 45 minutes in. I haven't even got into many of my things, including
Oh, I'm sorry.
don't apologize for being a great Twitter guest, a great podcast guest. So for Twitter, you came on and you're doing jokes, doing hilarious jokes, and you've gone viral with some tweets. What are some of your viral tweets? Oh, here's one. If I was a professional dominatrix,
No, God.
I'd advertise myself as propane and propane accessories, and my company would be called King of the Hill. Thank you. Goodbye forever.
I mean, I know you know this because you've had viral tweets. You have those ones from like, God, when is that one from? Like 2017 or like
Probably, yeah.
2016?
It's cropped out on this image that I'm
How
looking
dare
at.
they?
Do you know? Well, the picture's not cropped out. You're looking jacked
Yeah,
on it.
yeah. That first of all, the already the avatar that I was using when I did that joke was me doing a stand-up show or doing a stand-up set at a burlesque show, and I like panicked because I was like, oh my God, I'm fully dressed. I don't this audience is gonna hate me. So I just like took my shirt off and I'm just like doing stand-up in a bra and jeans, and like I had a great set and I would have had a great set just fully clothed, but of course my avatars of this joke that like I've had several bosses and employers be like, "Oh, I thought that was a funny tweet." Is just me yelling into a microphone in a bra. But that's one of those like old ones, where it got viral and then it just keeps showing up again, and you're just like, "Oh God, that one's been around forever." Like do you have tweets like that?
Yep. Yeah, they just show up and the images can circulate and recirculate. Whenever someone repicks it up or reposts it, it can go and do another little loop. And you're like, usually you don't get notified about that kind of stuff, but sometimes you'll see it appear or someone will send it to you. And you'll be like, oh, yeah, yeah. That was 2015.
It's so, and you know this as well, where like it not to, get all, not sour grapes, I don't know the term, but it is exciting when you have a tweet that goes viral. You're like, oh, cool, people like me. But you hit a certain you hit a certain point, and now the people that are replying to your tweets are like normie Twitter, where they're just like, they think they're like adding on to the joke and it's just terrible, or they're the ones that like apropos nothing, you're just like, I'm gonna tweet about a nice thing, and someone's like, you should just go die, and you're like, what prompted that, so you hit this certain point with like tweets going viral where suddenly it just becomes bad. You're just like, please, you're being really super weird right now. I had one. My favorite moment of that was a tweet that I had that went viral not that long ago, which was a tweet that said, the existence of mean girls implies the existence of median girls, mode girls, and range girls. Just a fun little stats joke. And people liked it. And then it eventually hit that point of no return.
Mm-hmm.
And someone was like, oh, well, I looked at the poster for Mean Girls, and it's a bunch of scantily clad women, and this is why women don't want to go into STEM, because they're like the butt of jokes. And I'm like, the whole point of that movie is that you can be a woman who is into math and still be cool. Well, that's like the B plot to it, but it was just like, you get to that point in Twitter where you're like, you are no longer a normal human being. This has hit just the absolute like grease trap of Twitter where
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, there's nothing good coming from this anymore.
Yeah, I like to think of that as the fringe behavior that you only see when you get these super viral tweets. But, because normally it doesn't happen. With your regular tweet, you get 100 likes or whatever. You're like, that's fine. But when you get 300,000 likes, you have Isabella Argument replying, please do not use this in your teaching. As a woman with a PhD in statistics, I can vouch that it will be and is offensive to some of your female students. It's easy these days to randomly pull off stuff from social media, but we need to be thoughtful about its impact.
Yep,
Like,
that is
up.
the direct quote from her.
Shut up.
I just feel so I even, when she said that, and I always mute tweets at that point, but I think because it was like a quote tweet, it showed up, or like someone had like taken a photo of my tweet and then quoted it, so I still got tagged. And I even responded to her where I was like, oh, totally, actually, if you watch this movie, it's like really, really positive.
Oh, yeah, look, I hear your replies are like, don't be rude to this lady.
Yeah, I'm like, this is actually fine. And then she blocked me, and I was like, come on, man, I was trying to
You're defending her.
Yeah, I'm like trying, it's, as you, I'm sure, well know, it can be hard to, I think we all tend to like lose our humanity on the internet, where.
Yeah, especially if you're operating from a place of anonymity.
Yeah.
If you believe that, then you're more likely for that sort of stuff to can come out more easily.
Exactly. And I do this, like, I can be mean to people on the internet when they probably didn't deserve it. Just because, yeah, no one's really past that. But I do generally try to, like, oh, well, here's a good teachable moment. And then
which we all need.
Yes, we do.
We are all on the internet for the first time in human history. Like, we're all the first internet users. We're just figuring this out. In 100 years, they're going to be like, oh, wow, that really messed them up because they didn't know how to use the internet right. They were just like screaming at each other on these posts, forums or whatever. And before they learned that we're all humans and we should be working together, we're all the same instead of different, Oh, way to go, future society. Yeah. You're ahead of the game. Yeah, we are we're the first experiments with that.
Oh, and it is just going so well.
Well, it's the people who got the first cars, they didn't realize you needed a seatbelt. Just didn't think about it. Bunch of people died. A lot of people died. And then, we should probably put a seatbelt in. Save some people. Still going to get a lot of people dying from the car, but save some people. But just
a little bit less.
A little bit less, right? So we're still on that curve. How many years later? So think about how many years the internet's been around, how far the curve's going to go, what we're going to look like.
And obviously the Occam's razor points to the obvious solution to this being you have to wear a seatbelt when you're on the internet. Like we
need an internet seatbelt. I think that is true. I'm sure it's analogous to something that will be invented in the future, where it's like you write something really harmful that could like get you in trouble, like legally or libeling someone or whatever, and you press post, and your computer's like, oh, you can't post that because it's illegal, so don't do it. And you're like, no, I'm posting it. And you're like, no, I'm just not gonna let you post that for now.
I know. There's just what bothers me though is like, oh God, the number of times I've just wanted to like tweet at Nancy Pelosi to tell her to go fuck herself, and I'm like, okay, just one example, and then I'm like, yeah, but I'm gonna get suspended for that, and I'm like, yeah, but there should be a list of people, and I fully recognize that this is absolutely a slippery slope into hell, but just give me a list of people where it's okay, just let me bully them, let me bully Elon Musk, like no harm's gonna come out of that. Yeah. Just let me do it. Just have a list of people where it's like, okay, this one's allowed,
That would be great if there was that. But there isn't, so we shouldn't be bullying. Let's be like those people 100 years from now. We're all the same. We're all in this together. If we get through this first, what wave are we on? Third wave of the global pandemic that we're currently in.
Third wave of ska. If we can make it through that, we can make it through anything.
Oh, how many more waves? It's coming back. It's coming back. Are you on TikTok? I saw that there's like a certain ska revival part of TikTok that's
Wow.
has
I
appeared.
I'm not on TikTok, and the reason I'm not, and this isn't like I'm an old person who doesn't understand new things. I think TikTok's great, but I don't like that it auto plays with sound. Like, TikTok is an app made for single people or people that do not scroll through their phone at bedtime, because like I need it to be, I need to have the option to turn sound on and not just autoplay.
Interesting
That's just
thought.
my old person gripe about it.
Yeah, you can turn the volume down. I guess that would be like a workaround. Basically, every video is captioned, and as is what has happened over time, because they know that people are scrolling with sound off, and people are uploading to multiple. Because no one single video streaming, small short video streaming service has currently solidified itself as the number one. I mean, TikTok is that, but their YouTube and Instagram are like fighting for it, and I guess Snapchat a little bit. So we'll see which one, probably TikTok, but however it works out, it's the small videos that are going to take over.
The short videos. One thing I like about TikTok is because everyone's captioning it, it kind of inherently has this built-in accessibility to it, which I think is really cool.
It is good, and there's a lot of things that will auto caption, and some of the auto captions are funny because they're saying one thing and they don't check what the caption is, and it just comes up as whatever the thing thought it was.
Oh no, I have captions on my Twitch stream, and I think most people that use them sort of recognize like they're good enough at reading captions that they're like, I can use context clues to figure out kind of what this person meant, but
yeah. Probably didn't say cheese alligator. It was probably something else. You're like, probably cheeseburger, maybe.
Although watching my videos back, it makes me realize like how everyone is bad at this, but how bad I am at speaking in like complete coherent sentences, right. Where everyone will start a sentence and then be like, oh, but then this, and then sort of trail off. And I'm like, this is impossible. Even if these captions were right, they're still really hard to follow.
Very hard. So I guess we'll make this the last thing that I touch on. Twitch streaming. So when you're hosting, is that like you got to talk the whole time? You're talking to the chat? You got a little box? You flip in between stuff?
Flip in between.
I watched a bit of your stream, but I didn't like chat or we didn't do a raid. I don't know what that
Chatting's is. Scary though. I realize like I hope people that watch Twitch don't feel like they have to chat, because I rarely do, because it makes me really nervous, because I don't know, like it's the nature of Twitch where it's one person speaking verbally to a bunch of people who are typing is already like the animal part of your brain.
So weird.
Exactly. Yeah, it's super weird.
So weird. Like even on TikTok, they have that. So once you're a creator on TikTok that you get over 1,000, then you can go live. So all these people are going live, and that's where they're really pushing all these lives. But every live is just someone staring at their phone like with a glassy eye, like trying to keep up with the chat, and then just like replying to random chats. Like you don't even know what they're replying to. They're just like saying seemingly unrelated information and sentences.
Weird. And you see that with Twitch too, where like the big streamers, like the ninjas and the Pokemanes, like they physically cannot read their chat because it's just nonstop, and oftentimes it's an emote only, because like anyone who's typing stuff, it's gonna just be...
go by. I think the other thing is that they've created is like super chats. Do they have that or something like that, where you can pay? Like I'll pay $5 and my chat will show up and it'll stay on the screen for like 30 seconds.
Is that for TikTok?
No, it's for YouTube, but I was wondering if it was for Twitch also.
Oh man, I don't know that that's a thing yet, just because figuring out how to... The monetization on that, I think, would be kind of tricky, just because what percentage of that $5 goes to like the streamer versus the site? Because like at Twitch, any subscription is half and half for like affiliates out of the $5 get $2.50, and then the site gets $2.50. But even for partners, it's that same split. And it isn't until you're like one of like the top tier partners that you actually get to negotiate on that at all. So I don't know if there's anything like that, but monetizing Twitch is really, really hard. And I think people who are interested in streaming on Twitch, like, I think you should. I think it's a lot of fun. It's just good practice to learn how to try to say things coherently while multitasking, playing a game or whatever. And it's interesting to learn how to like, how do I create a brand around myself, and how do I like, what do I want my brand to be, and how do I look at analytics and figure out what works for me and what doesn't. I think that's a really cool thing that especially people that are interested in writing or content creation should definitely try to figure out how to do. But it's a lot. It's a lot of different moving parts. The best thing in the world you can do for yourself if you do want to stream is just get a second monitor, because like having your game on one monitor and chat, yeah.
And you got to do it consistently. You got to do it regularly. You got to reply to the chats. The funny thing I noticed with Twitch, like I just signed up, whatever, like a few months ago, probably before I like restarted this podcast, to be like, I'll just check it out. Checked you out, checked a few other people out, pals out, and see what they're streaming. And it was a lot of gamification of those branding type challenges by Twitch. So it's like, get 1 follower, get 5 followers, get 1 person in the chat, get 3 people chatting at once. So it's like all these like little milestones where you would accumulate points or something, where it's like, unlock these challenges and become a great streamer. Like I found that it sort of like guided you to do those kind of things. It's like, make sure you stream 100 days in a row. So if you stream 100 days in a row, you get this 100 days in a row streaming badge or whatever.
And that doesn't mean any, like the only things that, and everyone knows that doesn't mean anything. Like the things that matter are the things you need to do to become an affiliate, which is what allows you to begin the process of monetization, and then the things that allow you to be a partner. All that other stuff that's like the empire business, get people talking.
Yeah.
It's just meaningless goals for people to work towards, which is great.
Yeah, gets them back to the site, right? Gets them back on Twitch, gets them back streaming.
I so badly want Twitch to get some sort of competition. With Mixer folding, I'm just like, no company should have a monopoly.
That sucks. So guy who left Twitch and went to that for how long? Was Ninja did that? He left, right?
He left for, oh my God.
Until it folded, like 6 months, 8 months, a year.
He left for longer than that. I think it was like a couple of years. He got obviously like a multi-million-dollar deal. And this is not like insider trading. This is stuff that everyone knows. And then after leaving, he on Twitter just like talked so much shit about Twitch, which is fair. Like people should be allowed to criticize the platform. I'm fine with that. But he's not allowed to, because he's just a dorky little loser. And then once Mixer folded, he tucked his tail and came right back to Twitch. And I'm just like, that's maybe why you shouldn't burn bridges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just say nothing.
Just say, criticize all you want. That's good. That's great. But
or maybe after 10 years of being the #1 Mixer streamer, then you can say, you know what? I made the right decision.
Yeah.
Here's what sucks about Twitch. But maybe not first day.
I think that's just the danger of, that's what happens when your entire job is just a cult of personality around you, is like, it's not even the fault of these like huge TikTokers or huge streamers that like, they don't necessarily understand, like, hey, maybe there are times where you should shut up, because they have never had to do that in their lives. And they've actually spent most of their lives with their personalities and their opinions being like their source of income, so that in situations where it's like, hey, maybe you don't need to do that right now, they don't have the perspective for that. So
can't. Everything's content in this new society.
I would never want to be a full-time content creator. On that note, like, you are constantly like, okay, I need to download my VOD and put it on YouTube. Okay, well,
everything, every day.
Post. Oh my God, you're always working. I know kids these days are all like, I'm going to grow up to be a content creator. And it's like, don't. It is, you never stop working. The moment one of your tweets gets like 10% less likes, you're suddenly like, cool, I'm washed up. Like, don't do it.
Future problems. Oh, well, Anica, I think we've done it. We've reached a full podcast hour, so thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was very fun. Got to talk about a lot. Didn't even talk about half the stuff, but it's great. Yeah, great stand-up. Everyone got to go check out hog_mild on Twitter. Check out the show notes for all the links to the Twitch and the tweets, the Twitter. Anything else I can link to?
Nope, I think that's pretty much everything. God knows Instagram and Facebook are absolutely dead in the water, at least for me.
Yeah,
so.
No, do not F with those things too much. Actually, I posted a Mother's Day thing on Instagram today. So a little bit still on Instagram, but not much. So good to get off of those things. If you're still on them, just spend a little less time on those. And thanks again, Anica, and we will say our goodbyes as I play the podcast theme. So thanks again for coming on, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for having me on, Stephen. I had a blast. This was super fun.
Super fun on my end, too, and everyone go have a great day also.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode with Anica. Isn't she so cool? You simply must be following her on Twitter at GogurtJizz. Yeah, it changed mid-episode. And go watch her do a stream on Twitch. Link in the show notes. If you're a new listener, TYVM, WTF took you so long, JK LOL. If you'd like to check out all the past episodes, just visit www.stevenskinner.com or visit Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Pod Temple. Remember, leave a rating and review. Follow at FOTS Pod on Twitter and find posts about the latest episodes whenever they get posted. And you can follow me on Twitter at SkinnerSteven, where the jokes are. Special thanks to Ruby Coast for the music. Special thanks to Kyle I. Davidson for the theme. And extremely special thanks to you so much for listening. I am Stephen W. Skinner. Have a great one.